Hey there, folks. Jane Galin here with the Chatham Journal, Chatham Chat List. I am sitting down this beautiful Sunday afternoon with Ryan Armstrong, and the reason we're doing this is because Ryan is running for school board here in Chatham County. And what district are you running for?
District 1.
District 1. Before we start talking to Ryan, I just want to let know all the voters in Chatham County know that although Ryan's in District 1, anybody in Chatham County can vote for him. The requirements in Chatham County is you have to be, if you're a candidate, you have to be living in the district you're running for. So Ryan's in District 1, but everyone in Chatham County, from Siler City to Pittsburgh to Northeast Chatham down to Moncure or South Chatham, can vote for Randy or any one of the other school board candidates. Also, another heads up, I know Ryan because he's been involved with wrestling at Northwood, and I take bunches of sports pictures, so I know him from there as well. So let's get this rolling. Ryan, why are you thinking about running for, why are you running for the school board here in Chatham County?
Great question, Gene. I spent the last 24 years in the Army. I retired back in July 1st, 2019, and I always said that once I retired that I was going to run for school board because my kids and my wife have had an opportunity to travel the world, the country, and the school board members that we ran into over the past 12 to 15 years have always accepted our kids, and this is my ability to give back to my community for what communities have done for us in the past.
So as an Army person, you did a lot of traveling. So how many different places did you live throughout your Army career?
For me, it's been about 12. For me and my wife, it's been about 12. For my boys, we've been in 8 different school districts in the last 16 years.
Okay, and when did you move to Chatham County?
We moved to Chatham County back in August of 2016. We originally lived in Portland, Oregon, and my wife works at UNC. She got a job here, and then I ran a special operations battalion down at Fort Bragg for 3.5 years. All
right, and you mentioned that you do volunteer work at Northwood, don't you?
Yes, for the last year, Jason, Amy, Cam Vernon, and Cliff Davis brought me on board. Just some of my background, wrestled in Ohio, joined the Army, wrestled for the Army for a little bit, and then I've been in wrestling for almost probably 36 years of my 43-year life. So Jason and Cameron gave me an opportunity. I came in as a volunteer assistant. I did it for all year. I think this year was the first year that we actually had state placers in the last 7 years. So, I think we're doing some great stuff at Northwood. And
you also have done some part-time teaching at Northwood as well, haven't you?
Yes. So when I retired from the Army, I went in the corporate world for a little bit. Decided I didn't really like it, and talking with my wife Amy, we went back to my number one passion as always to be a teacher, and now I have the ability to do it and then give back to the kids because right now I'm in a Master's of Arts in Teaching course through Liberty University, and everything goes right, I'll graduate my certifications and hopefully get to teaching the K through 5 in special education.
And what kind of courses were you teaching at Northwood, or as a part-time teacher, or was it just a whole bunch of different things?
Yeah, it's just I was on call as a substitute. I did a lot out at Perry Harrison, did a lot at some stuff at Pittsburgh Elementary, Horton, Moncure, Bonley, did a lot at Margaret Pollard, Northwood, and then did some stuff out at North Chatham. So, when they called, I made sure my schedule was available to help out the teachers when they needed.
Now, you mentioned that you're going for a degree, and that when you get your degree, for your teaching degree, you want to go into special ed for kindergarten to 5th grade. Why does that interest you? Why do you want to go ahead and do something like that?
Well, as we travel, and at my last position as a Command Sergeant Major, I had a lot of my soldiers that had special needs kids, and by watching them and the struggles that they had to deal with because they didn't know it, just kind of gave me the opportunity to say, hey, I'm prepared to do something like this. And, working with special needs is something I've always enjoyed doing.
As a candidate who's running in the school board and someone who's both been a part-time teacher and also a coach for a team at Northwood, What are your some of your favorite memories, some of your favorite experiences about being a part-time teacher?
Part-time teachers, watching the kids, seeing how, I look at it, kids are vulnerable. If I have the ability to affect one student's life as a teacher or even as a substitute teacher, that's what I find. As a coach, it's teaching these kids character, leadership, the different attributes that they may be lacking. My biggest thing is that I live in Briar Chapel, and I spent my first 3 years living inside a bubble. I look at it, and I think teaching and coaching has done more for myself, my family, than the Army really did for me as a whole. I mean, I got to see a different side of what the struggles are within Chatham County. That's not saying just Pittsboro. We're talking Siler City. We're talking Moncure, North Chatham, the whole 9 yards. So that's one thing that I always go back to is the experience that these kids are allowing me to come in their classroom and be an educator. It's done a lot for me.
I've been shooting sports in Chatham County for over 20 years, high school, middle school, elementary school stuff. And I see where coaches spend a lot of time and teachers spend a lot of time with kids, and the kids who participate in extracurricular activities or in after-school programs have a tendency to do a little bit better. In fact, I think when Mr. Bryce was a principal at Northwood, he had mentioned that one of the things that got him through high school is the fact that he participated in extracurricular activities. I think his big activity was band. As a volunteer, and I know Chatham County's got a lot of volunteers, as a coach on the wrestling team, is there any one or two memories that you remember and it kind of made you say, hey, this is all worthwhile doing?
Well, considering this year, it was kind of ups and downs with the Northwood program. Being an interim head coach until Coach Amy came in and helped me out. The two biggest things were probably seeing the kids when they went to regionals, and watching them sit there and doubt themselves. Their confidence was down, and then we kept telling them, building them up, and just watching two of our kids win regional championships. One of them we were expecting, the other one, I think a lot of people probably wrote him off, and I had him from day one, worked with him, and we just built a foundation, and for him to go and win a regional championship was huge, and then go to states and win a match at states was huge for him. So I'm about building confidence, talking about these attributes that I think sometimes these kids in it's not just this county, but across the U.S. is that there's a lot of character flaws, and if I can come in and use my background and my training that I've received for the last 24 years and build a confidence back up, is something that that's why I do what I do. I love the sport, I love the kids, I love the atmosphere, and right now Chatham County's given me the opportunity to do this.
Let me ask you this question. You've mentioned all this experience that you've had with assistant coaching, with being a substitute teacher, your Army experience. What does that do for your resume coming in and running for a position on the school board? How do you think that helps you? How does that make you a better candidate? How does that make you a better school board member?
Great question, Gene. One thing that I look at, and over the time, since I've been here, going to the school board meetings and watching them, and now they moved on to the Zooms, the YouTube videos and stuff. What I bring to the table is, prompt decision making, leadership, the ability to stand up organizations and make them successful. Not saying we're not successful, but bringing new ideas. My background in the military has taught me, between going to Iraq and then spending a little bit of time in Afghanistan, I'm good under pressure. I'm focused. When I come to meetings, I come prepared. I've briefed at the 3-star, 4-star level. I've had to do my own slide presentations. So a lot of that background, what I would be bringing to the voters at Chatham County is somebody that's going to be on time, prompt decision maker, an advocate for the parents, students, the teachers, ensure that we take care of our special needs kids. Making sure that the 504s are done, the IEPs are done, and try to do our best job and not complicate it and throw all the monkey wrenches that I see whenever a parent has to go through an IEP process. They're challenging, but it's our responsibility to assist them, not put systems in place that they're not comfortable. My old boss, both of his kids are autistic. If it wasn't for them having a mentor and understanding it when they were in Virginia, when they got to North Carolina, it wouldn't have been so easy. But then, I've had soldiers out in Oregon, I have soldiers in Kansas and Ohio, that the school districts made it so hard to get through the IEPs and the 504s. So a lot of parents just give up. What I bring to the table is, I got a background with IEPs since I started going back to school. I know what the 504s are. So, and that's what I want to take care of. And we've got to take care of our special needs kids.
Well, it sounds like overall you're happy with the way Chatham County schools are progressing, but you want to kick it up a notch. You want to make things better. And you mentioned some of the procedures and getting feedback from parents and helping parents through the process. What do you see as the biggest concerns? What are the biggest concerns that you see within Chatham County schools?
The biggest thing right now is just the communication. We can go back to the June board meeting. We weren't prepared to answer the hard questions. I think if we lean more to our professionals that are around us to help us make the decisions that we need to make, we would have been better off. We have a lot of capital improvements to the high schools that we need to get after. We need to bring we need to bring some more middle school sports. I think we're on a going record. I think we're one of two counties that don't have a full lineup of middle school sports. We need to see the football, the wrestling, the lacrosse, because that's what's feeding our high school sports. Our CTE programs, we got to pay more attention to CTEs, without letting our academics down. We got to get more teachers to want to come to Chatham County. If elected, I want to look at the marketing campaign. I want to see what we're doing to not only retain our teachers, but to recruit our teachers. We have some of the best universities sitting outside of our district. If I need to call somebody at UNC, I need to make sure I got a touch point to get the student teachers down here. And then once we get them in here, we keep them and we hire them. So I think that's the challenge we're running into right now.
Okay. Going back to the June school board meeting, I actually watched that one online. Some people may not know what went on at that June meeting. Can you fill folks in on what went on in that June meeting? And you mentioned that it didn't seem to be, I don't know, as prepared as some. Get into us. Tell us what happened in that June meeting.
Yeah, it was long, and 9 times out of 10, when you see a long meeting, you see a meeting that the people that showed up weren't prepared. My background over the last 17 years, taking briefs, giving briefs. I've got the slides in front of me 3 or 4 days prior to the meeting. I've made my phone calls. I've gotten majority of my answers before I even walked into the board meeting. What the biggest thing that I remember is that we were going into about 11 o'clock. I'm sitting here where I'm sitting today, and we were trying to make a decision on the redistricting of Seaforth and Northwood. And we tried to do this at 11 o'clock when the community wasn't prepared itself until July. Then you fast forward 30 days to July, and we're looking at it again, and the community's prepared for a decision to be made, and then one of the board members proposed a new map after we eliminated 2 maps the previous. So what did? We delayed it again. So what did we do when we delay stuff? We put parents behind schedule, we put teachers behind schedule, and then you go in the July meeting, and we had to hash out when we're going to start school. Watching it, we were worried about what Durham was going to do, what Chapel Hill was going to do, what Orange County was doing. Wake had already made a decision. We went from 9 weeks, 4 weeks, back to 9 weeks, and then we finally settled for 4 weeks, and then you go forward another month, and then we do away with the 4 weeks and we do the 9 weeks, and without taking into consideration that we're a society that both parents work. We're going into remote learning. I see that, we just, as a county, wasn't prepared. The administration was prepared. I watched Dr. Jordan. He was prepared, but I don't believe the board was prepared to ask Dr. Jordan, what does he think we should do? I mean, I look at it like this in my field, and I'm a year out from being retired, but I'm considered a subject matter expert in recruiting command. I've done it for 17 years. When I look at Dr. Jordan's my subject matter expert. I'm not making a decision based off what Ryan wants. I'm making a decision based off what my superintendent's going to tell me. And I'm going to automatically assume that he's done the research, or I've fed him the questions that I'm going to ask, and I want answers prior to going into a board meeting, because we've hired him to do a job. We need to allow him to do his job.
All right, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned Seaforth and Northwood. I know what that's about, but for people who don't know what that's about, could you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, it's basically doing the dividing of where our kids were going to go to school. If you lived in Briar Chapel, you're either going to go to Seaforth, you're going to go to Northwood. And
Seaforth is the new high school that's over by Jordan Lake.
That is correct.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, so they started off with 3 maps, and then when they extended to 5 maps, and then they had an independent company out of NC State that did all the algorithms and the social economic structure, the free lunch, all this and that, and it was just a big draw up because how we make this decision. It was a hard decision by the board. However, it's something that if I were to be elected, and if Denny Lewis was going to be elected, it's something that we want to relook at, because I don't think that the board members really sat down and dissected the information. When you're talking about algorithms and you figure out what data points were taken, I think there could have been a different solution to a not so complicated problem.
All right, let me throw this scenario out there. Let's say you were on the school board right now. You mentioned that you want to listen to experts like Dr. Jordan, and again, with your military background and being prepared for things, and there was actually a survey that went out to parents and teachers.
Gene, let me interrupt you.
Sure.
Great question when you said there's a survey that went out to the parents.
Okay.
Okay. We know as a county, there's probably 40% of the county that does not have internet accessibility. But we as a county, we sent a survey out online. And then we report back that we had 100% participation in said survey. So that's another thing that troubled me with, we got it, I got internet, but I know a lot of my friends down in Siler City, Moncure, they never seen it. They didn't even know they could pick it up at the school. So to provide information like that, I struggle with. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay. Again, going back to the question of if you were on the school board in the last few months, how would you have worked through the process? How would you get your other fellow school board members aboard? What would be your expectations of Dr. Jordan, your school board members, parents, teachers? Again, put yourself in that position. If you were on the school board for the last few months, how would you have hoped the process would have gone? It's not a hard question. The way I see the way it should have went, we should have shifted everybody to Seaforth, and we should have renovated Northwood. Chatham Park is still, it's still in the air. We don't know if it's going to be a repeat of 2009. But given the position, Miss Turner, like she said on the board, she didn't have a stake in it. It didn't affect her district. Mr. Ham, he had a good point. Miss Helvig, Miss Jane Allen, they all had great points. Had it been me, I would have listened to my parents and I would have listened to my administrators. Because what NC State provided was just numbers. And if you know anything about machine learning, is that, I can make the numbers say what I want them to say. And I think that's what happened. With my background, knowing a lot about AI, knowing a lot about machine learning, had built a couple of these programs with the help of my staff, we could have went in a different direction.
that's where we have to figure out. I mean, Northwood sits on 98 acres. Northwood was built, I believe, in 1972. I could be off, maybe 1970. It needs much needed upgrades. What I would have done, I would have persuaded the board to relook and say, hey, let's shift everybody to Seaforth. Let's get the money necessary to renovate Northwood. So now we got 2 new schools. And now it's not a problem with the board members having to worry about, what neighborhood we're going to affect here and there.
Does that go back to your concern about capital spending, where, and I've noticed this in Chatham County and other school districts as well, sometimes they sink money into new schools but seem to forget about older schools.
Yep.
Is that a big concern, and is your game plan that you just mentioned for, hey, move everybody to Seaforth and then renovate Northwood and Pittsboro, kind of, hey, that's the way we should be spending money to keep everybody on equal footing?
Yeah, I would concur with that statement 100%. I mean, we got to look at it. I mean, Chatham Park's going to bring in a lot of money. That's a lot of tax dollars that's going to come in. We're going to have to reach out to, whoever gets elected to the county commissioners and advocate for it. Jay Stobbs and them guys, they're running for election this year. So, we got George Gilson running for House 54. So we got to get the local guys on board to renovate, because that's where our money's going to come from. I mean, state can only give us so much for education, but we lean on the Tim and Bubbas that are running the Chatham Park development and say, hey, we need help. What can you do to help renovate Northwood?
Well, let me ask you about Chatham Park. Chatham Park, and again, the numbers are a little bit different, but let's go. Apparently, 7 schools would be needed to serve the Chatham Park area. We know Taylor's Academy is probably going to be going in there sometime next year. I understand rumors are that the Archdiocese is thinking about possibly getting a Catholic school in there. I know that there were some charter schools that would love to get in there. Pretty much Bubba and his partner, when it comes to Chatham Park, are saying, hey, we're game to everything. It doesn't have to be a Chatham County school system school in Chatham Park. What's your approach to getting as much Chatham County schools and the best education for Chatham County kids who decide to go to Chatham County schools into Chatham Park?
Yeah, I don't have the answer right now to give you that. I've kind of put Chatham Park on a back burner. Having the conversations with the developers down there. A lot of this stuff is just, it's in the wind. There's no guarantees. And I go back to my statement. I said, I think right now there's 14 subdivisions that still are vacant because of the recession in 2009, 2010. With the new election coming up, we don't know who the president is. Who's to say that we're going to not see what we've seen in 2009, 2010? I don't know. Jim Goodnight's a great guy, and he's got Chatham Park being developed. However, I would sit there and say that my plan is to focus on Chatham County schools. In order to do that, being a parent of a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old that are inside of Chatham County schools, when my wife picked locations, she looked at great schools. And if they didn't score a certain level, then we weren't moving there, which in turn puts me in a 1-mile bubble, and that's how we ended up here. Because when we got here, Northwood was a 7, Perry Harrison was a 9, Pollard was an 8. That's where we want our kids at. What drives that? Drives athletics. We got to get good athletics in this. Parents are looking to put their kids in good athletic programs. Good athletic programs drive academic programs. It's all. I use this term. We're moving in a different direction in Chatham County. What Chatham County used to be, where it was a nested community, everybody knew everybody. We're more transitioning to what they call a transactional county. Not transactional. My word's probably off when it's transient county. That's what we're looking for. And people are moving in and out, and this is what Chatham County is going to be. And if we cannot put our academics and our athletics to a point where they're the best in the state, they're going to choose to go to the Middle Creeks, the Cardinal Gibbons, Apex Friendship, Apex High School. They'll live in Chatham County, but find a way to push their kids to them Wake County schools. So.
Well, it sounds like your approach is you're not going to just look at being able to help the transitional folks, but also the traditional folks here, because by your example of hey, let's upgrade Northwood and move everybody to Seaforth while we're doing that helps a lot of the traditional folks that have been here for generations, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Let me take a quick break. All right, we are back. I have to take a water break. We're out here outside. It's got a little hot, so I need to get some ice water. All right, we were just talking with Ryan about a whole bunch of different things relative to him running for school board. We're going to wrap this up in a little bit. Talking about relationships with commissioners, being part of the school board, how do you see that relationship working with county commissioners? To the county's growing, we're going to need more schools, we're going to need capital expenditures, some of the stuff we talked about in the first part of this interview. What's your feel about that?
I think it's important. I mean, whether the Republican, Democrat, I don't care personally. There's got to be a relationship. So, for instance, if we do decide to do something with Northwood, and we're missing the boat for a couple $1 million, we can go to the county, and if the relationship's there, with myself and Denny, have the relationship with the current county commissioners, and we can lay out the plan and show them how the money's going to be used after we've already dissected the school board budget and the county budget. Not only Northwood, Chatham Central, Jordan, Virginia Cross, Perry Harrison, etc. And the list goes on and on. We just got to figure out what right looks like, and but we have to establish the relationships, and that's what I pride myself on. 24 years in the military, the 4 years I've been here, is building relationships with people. It's important. Getting your network big, and then being able to have that relationship. So when I walk into the county commissioner's office, I'm not getting the high hand saying, hey, make an appointment. No, we have a relationship, and we have to figure it out together. Well,
talking about relationships, that doesn't seem to be the only important thing, because you mentioned the fact that you need to, instead of just saying, hey, I need the money, I need to be able to show why I need that money.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, so what you're looking at, okay, let's say you needed more money for Northwood. We've talked about this several times already. How would you go about approaching the commissioner saying, hey, this is what I want to put into the capital budget for Northwood?
Well, I mean, it's in any type of decision-making process. I mean, you have to lay out a plan. You have to do the research. You have to provide the budget. You got to know where your money's coming from. And then once you move forward, what I've found in my past is, it's hard to tell somebody no when you have a very effective and efficient plan moving forward. If you can lay it out and you can show them, what right looks like and how we're going to get from point A to point B, 9 times out of 10 they'll take it under consideration, and then they'll be more open to helping you get to where your end state is.
Well, it sounds like, going back to what you said earlier, being prepared is a whole bunch of being able to effectively encourage folks that, hey, we need this money because of these reasons.
Yeah, we got to show the what behind the why.
There you go, the what behind the why. Going back to something we mentioned in the first part of the interview, the surveys. You mentioned there's concerns about sending electronic surveys because there's certain people who don't have internet access. What's your feeling about what kind of things would you like to be able to do to get more efficient and more effective feedback from parents, teachers, folks in the community?
We have to be transparent. I have to be a school board member that you see in the school, and I have to be a school board member that you see in the community. One thing that I've done over the last couple of years, I didn't miss a football game last year, didn't miss a wrestling match, showed up to girls basketball, showed up to some the musicals, and the list goes on and on. It wasn't because I was running for school board, is that I wanted to show my kids' teachers and my kids that, hey, we want to be part of the community, and it wasn't just Northwood, it wasn't just, Jordan Matthews or Chatham Central. I mean, it was the elementary schools, etc. The list goes on and on. By that, it starts making more the parents comfortable, makes the teachers comfortable, makes the administrators comfortable, because I can tell you right now, I believe that a lot of our teachers aren't comfortable to say what's really going on in their mind. I've been fortunate, I've met a lot of great teachers, and we're losing a lot of great teachers because they don't feel that they have a voice at the school board level. Going back to Gene's question about the surveys, hey, surveys are good about the first time, maybe the second time you send out, but when you start sending multiple surveys, they become repetitive and they're asking the same question. We have to figure out a way to be more efficient and more effective with the data that we get so we can move an organization forward. just like this whole remote learning. I mean, were the teachers prepared? I don't know, but I tell you, they did a great job of pivoting with the information they got to move forward to teach our future leaders of America. However, I will tell you that as a candidate and hopefully as a school board member, we owe the teachers a lot more than what we gave them going into the 2021 school year. We didn't prepare them with the right resources they needed to be successful for remote learning.
It sounds like the theme during this whole interview is that as a candidate and as a school board member, you will go into each meeting prepared. Is that correct?
Fully prepared, correct.
Okay. So we boiled it down to probably one of the bigger questions that everyone's going to want to know is, Ryan, why should I vote for you to be my next school board member in District 1?
Easy question. I mean, I'm a planner, I'm a prompt decision maker. I've been in a lot of trying situations that expected me to rely on the leadership training that I have. I'm going to listen to the parents, the students, the teachers, the administrator. I'm going to weigh a lot on my administrators to provide me the answers to questions that I don't have. I'm going to be effective when it comes to the 504s and the IEPs. I'm going to be the guide, the candidate or the board member that's going to remove the barriers that the parents currently have going in with the 504 IEPs. And if there's a problem and I can fix the problem, we're gonna get it fixed. Period. I have no problems asking the hard questions.
That's great. Folks, it's Ryan Armstrong running for school board, Chatham County School Board in District 1. We'll see if other candidates want to be able to do that. I appreciate you folks listening. I appreciate you folks watching. Let me finish up with this. Ryan, if folks want more information, I understand. I think you have some, you've got a Facebook page or social media stuff. Can you share that with the folks watching?
Yeah, so we are on Facebook, CT Armstrong for Chatham County Board of Education. My website, my email, if you want to get in contact with me, is ctarmstrong@gmail.com. Or if you want to give me a call with some of your questions or concerns, you can call me at 614-584-5024.
And that number again is?
614-584-5024.
All right. Ryan, thank you so much.